were not included in bipartisan legislation on sex trafficking passed last year, and the GOP wanted to fix the oversight. However, some Democrats fought the new legislation, saying it could somehow be used by parents who wanted to break up interracial or gay relationships. This is SRN News. 23andMe has a new owner.
Regeneron Pharmaceuticals purchased 23andMe through a bankruptcy auction. The $256 million paid by the drug maker will cover all units of 23andMe except its telehealth service, Lemonade Health. This comes as the company had been struggling with weak demand for its ancestry testing kits and after a data breach in 2023 that exposed millions of customers' genetic data. The companies expect to close the deal in the third quarter. Tasha Stevens reporting.
The Senate has voted to move forward with legislation to regulate a form of cryptocurrency called stablecoins, 2 weeks after Democrats blocked the measure. Monday's procedural vote keeps one of President Trump's top legislative priorities on track for passage and highlights the growing political strength of the cryptocurrency industry. More details at srnnews.com. I'm John Scott.
Exodus 20, verse 7, Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Exodus 20, verse 7, God's command to be reverent toward him.
Jesus said one day he will return. Every man, woman, and child will meet him either as Savior or Judge. Are you ready? Listen to VCY America Daily for programming that will change your life forever.
VCY America is on the air. KBCX Gregory, WVIW Bridgeport. Online at vcyamerica.org.
Looking for a lift? Experience a seed from the sower with Michael Guido of Metter, Georgia.
One day, a father said to his son, "Obey me instantly. Drop to your stomach. Crawl toward me as fast as you can. Now run." Throwing himself into his father's arms, he looked back. Hanging from a tree where he had been playing was a 15-foot poisonous snake. Had he disobeyed, he would have died. You and I can't see all that our Heavenly Father sees. We don't know all that He knows, but His commands are for our good. Obey me, He urges. Do as I say, and all shall be well. Let's do it.
For your free copy of Dr. Guido's daily devotional, Seeds from the Sower, write The Sower, Metter, Georgia, 30439.
Visit us on the web at The Sower.
VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And we thank you for joining us on Crosstalk here on VCY America. And ladies and gentlemen, while I brought this matter up on our most recent News Roundup program, today we're going to do more of a deep dive into it. And to set up our conversation today, I just want us to recall our country coming to a literal standstill September 11th, 2001, as Islamic hijackers commandeered commercial aircraft and flew them into the Twin Towers, into the Pentagon, and due to the action of courageous passengers, into the ground in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. 2,977 were killed by those who did this despicable act. And friends, after this happened, churches were filled to capacity. Special prayer meetings were called. Live, televised, national addresses were given. Concerts were taking place. The country was in mourning. Lives were forever changed. And yet, friends, when Planned Parenthood released their annual report for 2023-2024, we learned that during fiscal year, that fiscal year, 402,230 little baby boys and little baby girls were slaughtered in the womb through Planned Parenthood facilities and through their actions. That's over 1,100 little boys and little girls every single day coming to their death. The churches were not filled when this report came out. Special prayer meetings were not called. There was no national live broadcast from coast to coast with celebrities denouncing this act. There was no congressional delegation going out on the Capitol steps to sing God Bless America. Life simply went on as if nothing had happened. Just let that sink into your thinking. This was an all-time high for Planned Parenthood. And if that isn't enough, if that's not enough horrible information to grasp, ladies and gentlemen, you paid for it. Planned Parenthood took in $792.2 million in taxpayer funds through reimbursements and grants. When will the people across this nation say, no longer? When will the people say, we must stop the killing? Congress is right now debating the budget, and the question is, will they continue to use your money to fund the nation's number one killer of babies in the womb, Planned Parenthood? Joining us today, we welcome Kelsey Pritchard, Political Affairs Communications Director for Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Kelsey, the numbers and the reports I just shared are staggering. They're jaw-dropping. They make my stomach churn. Just weeks ago, I held a new little granddaughter in my arms. How can any civilized society allow this?
It's truly awful. And you look at that number and, it's easy to not think about every single individual, but, every number is a person that we will never know, is a friend, would have been a friend. How many people are we missing in our lives because they died by abortion? Mm-hmm. How many coworkers and classmates, family members are we missing who never got to be a part of our world? And a large number of them lost their lives because of Planned Parenthood, and we've been propping them up with $2 million a day of our taxpayer money so that they can keep doing this.
And that's outrageous. I mean, funding about $2 million every single day, and that's evidenced by their recent annual report. I think that's $100 million more than a year ago?
Yeah, that's right. More money and more abortions, and they do less of the non-abortion services, the few services that they do provide that aren't abortions. They're doing less of that. Their cancer screenings, breast exams, other things like pap smears, all of those things are down more than 70%, yet abortions have skyrocketed. And now they're offering gender transitions, and now they're getting into more and more political spending to increase woke politics in this country.
And and we're going to break all of this down here today. And Kelsey, you brought this up about their other services, and Planned Parenthood is really convinced many people that abortion is it's just such a small percentage of what we really do, and they've got women convinced that their services are so critical. Comment on that, if you would.
97% of the time, a pregnant woman walks into Planned Parenthood, she gets an abortion. Their business is abortion. They exist to sell abortions. That is how they make money. That is why they exist throughout the country. It's abortion. It's to take the life of the unborn child and to spread misery amongst women across this country. And so that's what they do. That's what they're here for. So they have these, crafty talking points, and they've got beautiful images on Instagram, and they are marketing PR pros. But when you get down to what they exist to do and what they're doing, they're killing people. They're killing the most vulnerable among us.
And so when a client comes into them, when a woman comes into them and wants to have an abortion, if they do a blood test, if they do this, they count each one of those things as individual services to try and somehow counter the number of abortions that they do compared to those other services.
That's right. They try to botch the numbers. And so if you look at the report and just read it yourself, it's not clear that their services have gone down that are non-abortion services. It's also not clear how often abortion is the thing a pregnant woman receives versus other things. But our Charlotte Lozier Institute broke down the numbers. They looked at the numbers from year to year going back from 2010 to now, and we've got a fact sheet on their website that breaks it down. But yeah, the data is all from them, and it's true. This is what they offer pregnant women, and they do 97% of the time.
But at the same time, Planned Parenthood wants women to believe that we're your friend. But are not women and girls actually harmed by Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, even the New York Times and NPR acknowledge this now. The New York Times had this grisly report that came out in February of this year talking about atrocious conditions and terrible experiences that women have had. And one of the experiences they named was that they placed an IUD in a woman who was pregnant, and they caused the child to be stillborn. They couldn't even manage to do a basic pregnancy test in that situation. Then it told another story of this Planned Parenthood in Nebraska where sewage had been leaking 4 days. They didn't address it, and patients were coming in and throwing up because the smell was so bad. And then, of course, those are kind of some of the horror stories that they have acknowledged, but then there are women who themselves have died because of abortions at Planned Parenthood. There was an 18-year-old girl in Colorado in February who died when Planned Parenthood did a 22-week abortion, and they admitted to her grandparents that they waited too long to call an ambulance. And then they told the ambulance to leave off the lights and the sirens so as not to draw attention to the pro-life people outside. And so this whole the garbage talking point of how they exist to help women, it's not true. It's not true at all. And women have died because of them.
It seems to me that there's a whole lot of healthy women that go into a Planned Parenthood and come out in an ambulance.
Yeah, it's awful. And they don't come out in an ambulance. I mean, look at the studies about depression and anxiety and PTSD and the things that women experience if they're lucky to not experience the actual health impacts, like having to go to the ER after taking abortion drugs at home by themselves because they've been bleeding for 30 days or more, or they're hemorrhaging, or because they had an ectopic pregnancy, and you're not supposed to take that drug if you have an ectopic pregnancy, but you can do it now. You can get it in the mail and then do it yourself. So there are so many terrible things that women are experiencing because of abortion, and there's even a new study that came out that shows women who've had abortions have a higher rate of contemplating suicide. So it is just tragic. Not only that it takes the life of the unborn child, but that it is ruining lives of women as well.
It really is. And I just received an email the other day from Live Action, Lila Rose's organization, and they had testimonies of different women. And I'm just going to share one of them. This is one named Julianne, and she is a woman from Tennessee named Julianne, wrote that she visited Planned Parenthood at age 19 for an abortion out of desperation after she became pregnant by a boyfriend 14 years her senior, who pressured her into having an abortion. Both Julianne and her boyfriend were using drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, and Julianne didn't think she wanted to raise a child. Planned Parenthood seemed to offer her a quick and easy solution to her problem. So off to Planned Parenthood I went to quickly, quietly, and easily take care of what I rationalized was only a clump of cells at this point anyway, and on taxpayers' dollars no less. They made it all quite convenient and at no personal cost or sacrifice to me. I applied for state aid to pay for the procedure and even received the bonus of food stamps that I didn't need in order to provide my body with nutrition for a child I was going to kill in a week. Talk about government bureaucracy at its finest. Julianne claimed the Planned Parenthood nurse wouldn't allow her to see the ultrasound. She said, I do not know if providing an ultrasound was common practice back then, but I do know mine was necessary in order to establish how far along I was. When I laid there and watched this happening, the nurse would not allow me to look at the screen. She did not want me to see a moving baby inside me with a head and hands and legs and feet and a heartbeat. Somehow I maneuvered and managed a glimpse despite her objections. Julianne alleged that staff didn't provide her with any counseling about all her options, including adoption, nor did they warn her about mental health risk of abortion, provide her with pregnancy resources, or give her a waiting period before the abortion. She claims that 10 minutes after talking with Planned Parenthood staff, she was lying on the procedure table, but she had changed her mind about wanting an abortion at that point. Less than 10 minutes later, I was lying on the operating table, and I had completely changed my mind. All it had taken was an ultrasound to make me realize there was a baby inside me and I couldn't go through with it. I told everyone present to stop the procedure. They did not. The next moment, I felt a gas mask going over my face. I remember struggling as I understood what was happening to me. I awoke a few minutes later, and my first thought was, I hope they didn't kill my baby. I cried out and asked if they had done the abortion, and of course, they had. My grief was overwhelming. So was my shock, anger, and betrayal. She wrote, since then, when I hear or read about the praises of Planned Parenthood and how they provide health care to women, I am sickened. They offer no health for me or my baby. They only sought to steal life and health. Where was their care for me? Where was their care for my child? Where was their care for my desire to stop the procedure? That is, Kelsey, just one testimony of many with their horrors inside that abortion chamber.
That is so tragic. And the worst part about that is that I've heard very similar stories from multiple women with almost the same themes there, where we're talking about they didn't give them informed consent, where they changed their mind during the procedure or before the procedure, and Planned Parenthood forced the abortion on them, and where sometimes they walk in and no one asks them if they want the abortion, but they're taken in by a boyfriend or an abuser, coercer, someone who has decided for them that they're going to have an abortion, and it's clear that the woman is in distress and it's against her will and what she wants. And so, I think it is fitting that many of them have abandoned the label pro-choice. They are not pro-choice anymore. They are pro-abortion.
How much referral for adoption is done by Planned Parenthood?
It's very little. So 97% of the time, as I mentioned, a pregnant woman walks in, she gets an abortion, and in that other 3% is included adoption services or referring for those services, or prenatal care or miscarriage care. And so that is a very small chunk of what they do. And I've also heard from women who previously worked at Planned Parenthood who were chastised and got in trouble when they tried to refer a woman to a pregnancy center who could help with adoption or prenatal services.
Friends, it's so tragic what is taking place, and your member of Congress is on the brink of casting votes on this very issue. We're going to take a break. We're going